All right, everybody, welcome to the first edition of the Nighttime Fire podcast in reference to the second season of the 2020 What If Sports draft featuring 11 players. My name is Thomas Hampton.
My name is Lucas Freeman.
My name is Bailey Barnhill.
And we've got some interesting content. We have gone through 2 days of simulations, and within those 2 days, I feel like there's a ton of content to cover. We've got two specific people in the league that we feel like do a lot of talk, but their talk doesn't really match up to their team or just the results in general. And so I think we have to start with Zach. I mean, let's go. Lucas, can you tell me about what happened in round 3 of the draft?
All right. Well, round 3 of the draft. There's nothing crazy going on. Our friend Mr. Foshi may have picked a questionable pick. We'll get to that later. But Zunyon at the end of the third round, he decides to go for Andre Drummond, which was questionable at best and at worst was the worst decision I've ever seen in my life.
I would 100% agree. Like, there's no reason why Andre Drummond goes round 3. I mean, like...
If we think about it, in this current NBA season, think what Andre Drummond got traded to the Cavs for. That tells you all you really need to know about that kind of pick.
Like I can see where he was going with it, you know.
But at the
Andre
same time,
Drummond,
can't.
But at the same time, it's the third round. Like
Right.
there are plenty of more players that can rebound like Drummond, and provide other aspects of ball that Drummond doesn't have.
Right. And we
Yeah,
have
this is a
we,
this is a 60 or 70 year league history, you know.
Exactly. And I think a big thing we have to take into account is that, like, I mean, that's a third round, but that's not like the third round of centers. Like, I mean, this is just the third overall round, and you've got tons of players that can do better than Andre Drummond. I'm convinced all Zach did was like sit in his room in the corner and go, you know what? I'm gonna pick a team of players that nobody else is gonna pick. Not even gonna cross their mind. All right, and that's what showed round 3. And so he claims I got every single player I wanted, but I'm convinced that he wanted to be able to say that after the draft. Like, it wasn't let's pick the best players available. Let's pick the players I want so I can say after the draft I got the players that I wanted and brag.
Yeah. If what he is doing was trying to save himself the heartbreak of having a player pick right before him, I guess. But even that is just, it's unexcusable.
Right.
There's
like,
no excuse.
Yeah, like it I get it. It's not fun when Lucas decides he's going to pick Penny Hardaway right before me.
Okay, that's neither here nor there.
And it's not fun when I pick Grant Hill right before Lucas picks Grant Hill.
I
But
agree.
that's what makes this fun and versatile. I would much rather have to be on my toes during a draft rather than sit back and might as well just submit my draft list after the fact, because nobody's going to draft any of the other players on my team. And so,
How about we move on to where this team got Zunyon in the first round?
yeah. Bailey, if you could tell me about that bout against Quin.
So, as we all know, Quin's rotation was just ridiculous. Let's be real.
And I haven't even seen
Giannis-
this. Do you know who was playing where?
All I know is Giannis was at point guard.
And he started both Cat and Embiid. So
That's an interesting one.
First of all, you've got players in weird positions, and second of all, that's a whole lot of usage in your starting lineup. But anyways,
It's just a recipe for destruction. Like, not
Yeah,
fun at
really.
all.
and so naturally, Zunyon takes that 7-1 series win and thinks he's got the best team in the game.
Yeah, I think it's interesting just because we already had the, like, post-draft, like, confidence. I feel like that was very present, and then he gets this fluke 7-1 run on day 1. I feel like that just, like, set Zunyon up for feeling like he's untouchable. So
And as we have seen in the past 30 minutes, that's going to be a very damaging feeling.
Exactly. But let's go ahead and note that round 2, we had Lucas. You had the opportunity to play Zunyon. Tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about
Okay, well, obviously, as we
You don't have to go
discussed-
too in depth. It's almost sad boy hours.
that.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Give a quick
Bro,
summary.
he's literally
Quick
just
summary.
vibing, man. He's literally just vibing over there.
As you see in the picture for this podcast, that was kind of how I was feeling after that outing. So I'll just sum it up. I needed to win, and I needed to win by 2 or more points, and I win this series. And get this, there's 2 seconds left in this game. I'm up by 3. What do you do when you're down 3 in a game? You usually try to shoot a 3, but not this time. No. Scottie Pippen, Bulls small forward, one of the highest basketball IQ players to ever grace the sport, he decides to take a layup. So he dooms his team to a loss, but in the process, breaks my heart, and I lose.
Y'all won the game.
No, we won the game.
Yeah, y'all won the game, and you still lose the series because of it. You lost 1 point difference.
767 to 766.
I honestly think all we can conclude from this is that Scottie Pippen's brain is outside of the simulation. He
You
is
can't simulate that.
he is thinking light years ahead of his competition.
This man knew the series was on the line, and he went for the layup. I gotta respect it.
Yeah,
But I'm not worried because Scottie Pippen's no longer on that man's team.
right. Now, given kind of where Zunyon's team was at that point, you go from 7-1 after one series, so he's at 87.5% on his win-loss. Put him at 11-5 after the bout with Lucas, which I feel like people definitely respected your team, Lucas, but I feel like you were listed as underrated, and so Zunyon came in kind of assuming you just had a trash team considering his round 1 bout, and then after going 4-4 and only losing to him by one total point, he's now 11-5 after his second matchup. And he has 1 left in the day. And so he's at 68.75%. He's still sitting pretty at number 1 in the league once that happens. And then he goes and he plays Drew. And that's where Zunyon's team did what Zunyon's team was meant to do, and that's lose. And he sits pretty at 3-5 in that series. And so Zunyon's sitting there at 14-10. He's at 58.33%, and now he's 3rd place in the league after winning 7 games round 1. And he's still just as confident as he was.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, from this we can just tell that first round was a freebie for him.
100%.
I mean, imagine where he'd be placing if Quin didn't put Giannis at point guard.
Exactly.
Middle of the pack at best. But the question you always have to ask, Thomas, is as his win-loss ratio goes down and down, will his mental health go further down as well? Will he go into a spiraling depression? Because I can only see that as the only outcome from this.
Yeah. I mean, if he heads in the direction that he is going, then he's going to land outside of 5th place. And just as a preface for anybody who doesn't know, Zunyon made a bet before the actual season started, right after the draft, saying that if he finished outside of the top 5, he was going to dye his hair hot pink. And given the current trend of how he's playing, he's definitely going to be outside of the top 5, and he doesn't even realize that. And that's before our free agency bout today. So could one of y'all?
It's too soon, man. It's too soon.
Well, we have to. The viewers want to hear a little bit.
Exactly. So, Lucas, you want to take that one?
Well, sure. There's just not much to be said. So our commissioner decided a really interesting idea to allow a free agency period where you could trade one of your players that you have on your roster, one of the 7 that you drafted or have traded for, and add anyone that hasn't been drafted or isn't on anyone's team. So that's going great. Everyone drafts kind of according to plan, relatively, in the free agency. And then at the bottom of the draft is Zachary Runyon. Now, what does he do from there, Bailey?
He proceeds to drop the best shooter of all time in Steph Curry, and proceeds to pick up Pistol Pete Maravich. I am dumbfounded. I am still dumbfounded.
His confidence was just like through the roof. He's declining in his win-loss percentage. He went from 87.5 to 68.75 to 58.33. And you know what the best thing to do when that's happening? To drop Steph Curry. There's no better option.
There's just not much you can say about this man. I wish him the best in all his life endeavors, but he's just a fool.
And he doesn't even realize it. That's the hardest part. I feel bad for him.
It's arrogance does a lot to a man's brain.
When you take into account that he traded away Scottie Pippen, who scored the game winner against Lucas, for Steph Curry, just to drop Steph Curry in the free agency draft and pick up Pistol Pete Maravich, his mindset becomes even more clouded.
It's just it's unexplainable.
So moving on, I feel like we've really ripped into Zunyon, and again, we love Zunyon. You're great. It's just we have to call you out when something like this is happening. And so the next person we're going to talk about, and I'll probably rip in the most just because I've gotten a little ripped into by this person from the first take video, is Trey Foshi. And I got to say, I love you to death, Trey. But it's time. It's time.
Go on a warpath.
Could one of y'all real quick, just before I kind of go on a tangent, talk about one of his worst picks in the draft in terms of just where he picked this person?
Well, of course. So, in the second round, which is definitely this arguably the most surprising pick of the draft over Andre Drummond, just given where it was. In the second round of our all-time draft, Trey picks Nikola Jokic, which is by no means a bad player, and for this simulation, he's actually probably a pretty good player. But there's just no reason to pick him in the second round.
Not a chance. I literally do not understand the idea of picking Jokic that early. It's just there are no words. There are no words for that one. And so Bailey, do you have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'm just a little upset about how my team performed today against the Trey Foshi.
Yeah, tell me about how that broke down. Well,
you see, started out, I think I won game 1, he won game 2, then I won the next 3, so I ended up with a solid 4-1 lead going into game 6. Trey proceeds to win game 6 and game 7. So I am now sitting at a 4-3 lead, about to blow a 4-1 lead. But going into this game, I knew that even if Trey won the game, I would still win the series if he won by less than 11 points, because that was the point differential. And so we proceed to play the game, simulate the game. Dwight fouls out 24 minutes into the game, one of my star players. So it gets to the fourth quarter and Trey's up 2 points, right? So I'm like, okay, not bad. This is reasonable. I think we can see this out. Simulates the game. The last quarter, Trey wins by 24 points.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, Karl Malone just exploded in the fourth quarter, and with no Dwight Howard in there to defend him, we just got beat up. I think Smush Parker was in there posting him up. I don't know what happened, man. I can't explain it.
You hate to see it. Now, after 2 days, you know, Trey goes up against Miles, and let's call it what it is. Miles has Wilt Chamberlain on his team, which I mean, that's just a cheat code. I mean, you see him up here in the thumbnail. Boy scored 100 points in a game. He's bound to be good in a simulation. He's bound to be good in real life. It's just what it is. Wilt is Wilt. but Trey goes 3-5 day 1, 4-4 day 2 to put him at 7-9. Now I want to go ahead and admit my team has not performed the best. All right, I've made some adjustments in free agency. We'll see where that puts me. But I'm also not the type to go out and talk about how great my team is. But what baffles me, all right, and please prepare yourself, all right. Trey Foshi talks mad smack about the amount of simulations he runs, and what baffles me the most is the idea that how do you know how you're going to perform in a simulation if you don't know the minutes of the person you're playing against? Or pre-draft you're running simulations. How do you know who anybody's going to draft? How do you know how one specific player is going to play against some random team that you put together? How did you decide that team was going to be drafted in an 11-man draft? I don't know. But overconfident yet sitting at 43.75% win-loss ratio and sitting pretty at 7th place. I'm not bragging. I'm sitting at 9th place. I'm 6-10. We'll see what happens. But to be 7-9 and probably run the most simulations out of anybody and talks mad smack, I think that's pretty poor. But that's just my hot take. I mean, and the only reason I really rip in is I feel like on the competitor show, that First Take that we watched yesterday, Trey decided he was going to talk trash about me, and then he was going to tell Zunyon that Zunyon would talk trash about Trey, and then Trey could defend himself. I sat there defenseless. So Trey, if you're listening to this right now, this is your time to be defenseless. I'm ripping into you, all right? You could run 5,000 more simulations than me, and you're going to place one spot higher than me, and both of us are going to miss the playoffs. So, we'll see where the season takes us. I picked up Pau Gasol. We'll see what happens. But do you guys have any specific words on just the overconfidence out there? Trey or anybody? Do you feel like anybody else just needs a little talking?
Yeah, I mean, just watch it, man. The 4-1 leads. We're out here for blood. I feel like my team has been severely underrated.
I agree with that.
I'm just saying, I'm gonna creep up on you guys, and I'm gonna be in the playoff picture.
I like it. I can see it. I mean, you're sitting there tied for 4th right now. I mean, you're 9-7 there with Miles, and Miles has Wilt Chamberlain. And we know Zunyon's going down, so you're basically tied for 3rd. I mean, I think David and Drew have really solid teams, and I think that's going to keep going on. I mean, I think those are the clear number ones. I mean, stat-wise and just by looking at their teams, I don't think there's much that's going to change from there.
I am curious to see if we see an improvement from Ben's team.
Yeah,
I think he constructed a pretty good team, and he's put a lot of time into parsing the data and such. And right. I wonder if his free agency pickup will help solve some issues that he had.
Yeah. And then how do you guys think Quin's going to match up once it's all said and done? I mean, I think he definitely helped out beating me 5-3 today. Do you think that continues playing other teams? Tomorrow he plays Ben.
You know, Quin is the ultimate wild card, I feel like. He was one of the few that did not cater his team to the simulation. And yet, he just had a lot of high usage players. But with that being said, any of those high usage players can go off in any given game, and that can win you a lot of games, especially with the small sample size being only 8 games in a series.
Right.
Over the course of a 100-game series, he might lose 70, but over an 8-game series, he can win 4 or 5.
Yeah. Bailey, who's your top pick overall? Who's your wild card, and how do you think you're going to perform tomorrow against Bryce? 3 questions. Top pick, wild card, your game tomorrow.
Top pick. I'll do that last. I'd say my wild card is probably. This seems to be what everyone says, but I think it's Miles. You got Wilt, the cheat code, could do pretty much anything he wants to in this simulation. Very hard to defend against him. One of the most athletic players of all time. I think tomorrow against Bryce, I think I have confidence in my team to bounce back, and I think I'll win the series 5-3.
Okay.
And top pick to win it all. For right now, I'd probably have to say Drew. His team's performing pretty well. It's a lot of old school players, but it seems to be working. I thought the lack of threes was really going to hurt him, but it hasn't so far. So
Awesome.
that's where I'm sitting.
Yeah, Lucas, you already said your wild card is Quin. Who's your top team, and how do you think you're going to perform tomorrow versus you play Trey, right?
Yes, I play Trey. And actually, if I'm going for one wild card, I like to switch my pick. And I don't want to pander or anything, but
Okay.
I'm going with our dear host, Thomas.
Okay.
I believe you're a lot better than your record shows, and I believe Kareem is arguably a top 3 player of all time. I think he will. I think he'll definitely get you in the playoffs quite easily. And when you get there, Barkley was amazing in last year's simulation. You got Wall who can dish it out, so I think you've got a really good chance to make a Cinderella run.
Okay.
My favorite. Now this is tough. I think I would have said David had he kept Curry, but I think my favorite will be Drew as well.
Okay.
I think he, like Bailey said, he kind of shocked us with going really old school, and he's got a lot of high usage players, but that hasn't been able to stop him yet. And he's faced some pretty respectable opponents so far, and still managed to hold his own. So I think until we see more, Drew's got to be the favorite. And in tomorrow's matchup with Mr. Foshi, like we said, he's made some questionable decisions, and I've got nothing against the guy. We've made trades, we've worked together in the past, but I'm going to have to give myself the nod 5-3 over Mr. Trey Foshi.
Awesome. And then I guess I'll take it before we sign on off. I think my wild card. I'm going to give my wild card to Bailey. I think he's an interesting lineup. I think he's put together a good team. Sitting in 9-7 puts you right there on the bubble. And I think as Zunyon comes on down, and you make your way really into like a solid playoff contention run, like sitting there at probably like, second, third, fourth place, wherever it be, I think people are going to underrate you, and you're going to overperform people's expectations. And so I'd agree my favorite pick is Drew. I think Drew just has that baseline NBA knowledge. He's just a sports guy in general. I mean, him and David, both. I mean, they could know nothing about the simulation and still make good picks because they know so much. And so I think Drew's going to stay up top in that 1 or 2 position for a while. Who does Drew have? Drew has Miles.
That'll be an interesting matchup.
I think Drew and Miles are going to split it 4-4, just because Miles has Wilt Chamberlain. I think Miles splits it, and then I think Drew takes it on point differential. And so I think Drew stays up there. David plays Zunyon. David will probably be in first after tomorrow because I think David's going to probably beat Zunyon 6-2. That's my guess. Just because David's such a solid team and Zunyon just got rid of Curry like an idiot.
Yeah. It's gonna come back to earth very soon.
And then
but there's a lot of interesting matchups
right.
tomorrow.
And then my matchup tomorrow's where the heat really happens. It's me and Trey. I mean this is a guy that I just dropped some beef on. And if I'm honest, Trey went and beat Bailey 4-4 on you said it was a 1-point differential. Is that right?
No, that was Lucas's game.
That was Lucas's game. Trey beat you on differential today. So Trey basically, because you beat me and he beat you, Trey's going to come in and say he's going to beat me 5-3, 6-2, something like that. I think with my transition and pulling Pau Gasol in to put him at power forward or center backup, because Charles Barkley fouls out, and I've lost 4 games to Charles Barkley fouling out. 4 games. I could be 10-6 right now. All right, I'm pissed. But I think with that change, getting rid of, I just had 2 guards. I had Kemba and I had Ginobili, and I think getting rid of Kemba and pulling in Pau is really going to improve my lineup. I mean, Trey's lineup is going to be improved as well. I think I either split it and win on point, or I go 5-3. Is how I view tomorrow. So
I think we got an interesting slate tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's gonna be. I don't think there's one bad match.
Right? You play Trey.
Who do I play?
You play Trey.
Oh, I play Trey.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that'll be. I think that'll be a Hopefully I can get back on my feet after that tough loss.
All right. Well, boys, this has been good. We've got a lot of good content right here. So it's been great. Episode 1. Any last words from you guys? Are you guys good to go?
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Awesome. Have a great night. Bye.